So my name's Schneider and the work is called Bending the Rules, which is the title of the whole thing, but then the basketball hoops also have their own title, which is Bounce High, Bounce Low. And then the tennis balls are just tennis balls, the simple title. The work kind of stems from having an interest already in like the graphics that surround sport and large events, and having made large foam fingers in the past that are used in American sports as a kind of like, I don't know, jovial bit of costume. There's something just super graphic about that. It was kind of taking my interest in sports graphics even further, with the idea that it's a form of graphic that has to be universally read internationally. For the sport to make sense, all basketball courts have to have X amount of things, all football courts need the same. So taking that graphic interest as a starting point and then knowing the size of the space. A lot of the time I work with graphics, so they're flat, so it's bringing them into some realm of 3 dimension. So for this, it seemed most interesting that when the space was flattened out like a net, you had the right floor space to have a basketball court, a tennis court, and a football pitch. But then when the room's folded back up on itself, like a little cardboard model, then you get all these lines overlapping and lapping on each other.
So is it actually to scale if it were flattened out?
Yeah, you could play five-a-side football, you could play tennis. Like the reason it becomes complicated is because that's the halfway line of the football pitch, but then this is actually the goal from the other end, because it has to wrap over and double over itself. So that's where you get these interesting and bizarre overlaps occurring.
And your work was selected as the Visitors' Vote winner.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, really chuffed, really chuffed. It's nice that to make something and see that the public engage in it on whatever level they see fit, but they liked it enough to vote for it, so yeah, of course I'm happy.
It's really engaging, and it's actually standing here looking at you, my eyes are going a bit crisscross seeing all the lines behind you.
It's quite well, I knew visually the most striking is going to be red, white and black. You've got the contrast between the 3 colours. You don't really need any more, and then the eye naturally wants to find straight lines in a room. It wants to read straight lines. So as soon as you throw this many overlapping in, and it being a whole white space, it brings into question like where your reference points are, especially then with the resin cast basketball hoops.
Are they twisted at different angles just because?
The one at the far end that's upside down is true, but then obviously that's just an aesthetic decision. But I think once you start going into this realm of like logic and overlapping things, you can stringently stick by the rules, but there has to be moments and choices where there are almost like aesthetic frivolities.
And likewise with the lines going under or on top of each other, was that sort of aesthetically chosen?
Football pitch was the first one to go down because I knew it was the widest one. The football pitch was red as an aesthetic choice. I'd looked at a lot of gyms and sports halls and gone to a lot of multi-use games areas, they're called. I'd gone to a lot of them and I'd seen that white, red and black were quite predominant because it's either in wooden rooms or on concrete floors. So yeah, football was red. Tennis naturally had to be white because Wimbledon and all tennis courts are white, and then we were just left with black. So.
And you've got no footballs in here?
No, I didn't. There isn't a necessity to have something for every sport. The basketball hoops are sculpturally pleasing because of the colour of the nets and the shape of the net. It's already it's like a graphic within itself. It's such a graphic object. There's no need to, you can simplify it into a graphic if you wanted, but you're not going to get more graphic than that as an object. So naturally it's this weird object that already sits comfortably between being two-dimensional and three-dimensional. Whereas with football, there's so much variation in what footballs look like, the branding on them and things. So that's the reason there's only tennis and basketball, because
you've just talked about simplification, and I know that you've described a previous work of yours, Provocations, as an exercise in simplification, summarising artworks in a few words.
yeah.
Can you summarise this work in a few words?
Multi-use games area. That would be it. Yeah, that's it, multi-use games area.